Trump is imposing a new 50% tariff on Canadian imports in retaliation for what he called unequal treatment of levies on U.S. cars, dairy, and alcohol.
Not this again. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Your home for an independent and nonpartisan take on politics, media, internet insanity, and more. And sometimes it feels like we're just going around in circles because President Trump is once again tariffing Canada and repeating some of the same things he's already done, but just trying it in a slightly different way and maybe hoping for different or better results. You can probably tell I'm not a huge fan of this idea at all, but first let's watch the Fox News reporting and then get into some details from the Wall Street Journal.
Trump is imposing a new 50% tariff on Canadian imports in retaliation for what he called unequal treatment of levies on U.S. cars, dairy, and alcohol. The new tariff covers a wide range of products from alcohol to hockey equipment and cement, and also includes all goods previously protected by the USMCA agreement. The Canadian Prime Minister responded to the move, saying in part, quote, Canada has made a series of detailed and comprehensive proposals to resolve this dispute. We stand ready to intensify those discussions in the coming weeks.
Here we go again. He's really doing this again. Just when Americans are most concerned about affordability, let's dump a bunch more tariffs, which are partly borne by American consumers, on one of our allies that the things he's upset about them doing, he negotiated the trade deal that's currently in place in his first term. So under the terms of that agreement, they're doing things he's still not happy about. Let's slap a bunch more tariffs on all sorts of important stuff, including some elements of home construction material, because just what we need to do is add a little bit, tiny bit more expense to building new homes in America. I mean, obviously, it's not in the grand scheme of things the main driver of the housing crisis, but is not exactly going to help. And God forbid, Canada responds by putting more tariffs on us. And the whole thing, of course he's doing it all based on more random dusty statutes that have been never used to justify tariffs like this, like how he's doing. And so these will probably end up getting struck down in court again, like many of his other tariffs have. Then he'll just seethe and be like, how dare they? Now I have to give out this money as a refund, and we'll be right back where we are again. Well, I don't know. You just repeat the same stuff over and over again and hope for a better result, I guess. I guess that's what President Trump is doing with the tariffs, because manufacturing employment is down since he took office. So the renaissance of hockey stick manufacturing or whatever else this tariff trade war was supposed to bring about hasn't happened. And yet we've had even more worsening of the affordability issues. We've had more dysfunction and chaos and legal challenges and all of this. But yeah, let's give it another go. Bruh. Anyway, more details from the Wall Street Journal. Trump imposes additional 50% tariffs on certain Canadian goods. Measures apply to products including wine, though energy and parts of other sectors are exempt. Now, that's always a good sign, because when President Trump does interviews talking about tariffs, he boldly claims that the other countries completely pay for it and it's not American consumers at all, which isn't true. It's partially borne by consumers and partially by other countries and by companies, but it's a mix of all, and it does affect consumers heavily. Now, the reason that you know that Trump's claims are not the truth, and he actually knows the truth, that consumers are affected, is because when he does these kinds of tariffs, he usually exempts energy, because he's very sensitive to how high gas prices have gotten, and he doesn't want to make that worse. But that is an admission that it will affect consumers, because if it only affected Canada, yeah, then he probably would tariff energy too. Why not? It's just the other countries that pay for it. So they quietly admit the thing they publicly deny through their actions, and actions speak louder than words. Anyway, the economist Peter Schiff posted on X, Trump's new 50% tariffs on a long list of Canadian imports will hit American consumers hard. Not only will they increase our overall cost of living, but they will specifically increase the cost of home construction, making new homes even less affordable than they are now. I mean, it is true. Lumber tariffs are already in place, so that one won't be part of this. But things like cement and other construction materials are a part of this, and it's like, obviously that's not the big cause of the housing crisis, but it's not going to help. And here's the key detail. from the Journal, the new tariffs, unlike earlier rounds of levies on Canada, will apply to goods that comply with the USMCA deal, the White House said. That is the deal Trump himself negotiated. So, in his first term with Canada. So, even imagine from the Canadian perspective how maddening this must be. Even on the areas of trade where they are following the deal they previously negotiated with Trump, he's still slapping tariffs on them. I don't know how you're supposed to have constructive economic relationships or partnerships with other countries when you're chaotic like that. How? Why would any country... And part of what he says, or what sometimes his supporters say, is, oh, well, he's negotiating to get better deals. And sure, I would like better deals. I acknowledge that some of these countries, like Canada, like China, like many other places, they have unfair trade practices or things they do that hurt us. But when you rip up or betray the deals you previously agreed, it's going to be hard to negotiate new deals that are worth the paper they're printed on, because you've already kind of burned the trust or the credibility to negotiate a deal in the first place. If you're Mark Carney, how are you going to trust a new agreement with Trump when he's actively violating and targeting you even on areas where you're abiding by the first agreement that you had with him? Even though I think it was a different leadership, it's the same deal. It's all just, it's a very chaotic and not a great way to deal with these issues. Now, here's the thing. This was all supposed to be, and some of my friends who are more on the MAGA or populist side argued with me and were like, well, we have to protect the manufacturing base and bring back these working class jobs and all this. And I've always had sympathy for people who've lost their jobs because of trade, but the cat is out of the bag. And I think we have to help them get new jobs, learn new skills, and adjust to a new economy. I don't think you can bring back manufacturing through trade wars and tariffs. I don't think it works. And so far at least, what are the results? Well, at least for all the economic disruption and legal woes and headaches and international tensions the tariffs have caused, at least manufacturing employment is up significantly since Trump's second term began. Oh, just kidding, it's not. So here's from the Financial Times. President Donald Trump repeatedly pledged to revive U.S. manufacturing jobs and usher in a golden age of American-made goods, but 16 months into his second term, he's fallen far short of that goal, according to a new report. In April, private investment in manufacturing construction stood at $15.2 billion, a 16% decline from Trump's inauguration. Over the same period, factory employment decreased by 77,000 jobs, according to the Financial Times. So this is great because it's like, okay, so we're getting all the downsides of this, but the main promised benefit is not in the room with us. I guess maybe it will still materialize over the next year or two. This is my doubt face, but it could happen. I'm just saying it's not looking good. And then, of course, he's once again, because you guys probably forget this because it's just Congress has really abdicated so much of its responsibility. But under the Constitution, it's very clear. Congress is supposed to pass laws that impose tariffs. It's not supposed to be something the president just does with the stroke of a pen. But because Congress would never vote to do what Trump wants to do on tariffs, even the Republicans would not go along with it, he's trying to do it via executive order by finding old federal statutes that give like limited authority to impose some duties or regulations. What's the right word? The authority is delegated from Congress to the president. He's trying to use them in ways they've never been used before to just do it all by himself. And that's why he lost at the Supreme Court and one of his big tariff regimes was struck down. And he's doing the same thing again, but just with a different law. So it's like, why would you expect a different result? Again, from the Journal here, the new tariffs will be imposed under an obscure section of U.S. trade law, Section 338 of the Trade Act of 1930. The law grants the president the power to impose levies on countries that discriminate against U.S. companies, but it hasn't been used before to impose tariffs and could attract legal challenges if the levies are ultimately imposed, according to an expert they interviewed for the Journal. So obviously, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not familiar with this provision of federal law, but the idea that it's going to be a basis that will hold up in court for imposing all these tariffs when it's never been used to impose a tariff before seems sus. I'm going to have to hit the doubt button on that one. So you might have the same problem you had before, where Trump imposes these tariffs based on some statute rather than trying to get Congress to pass them, because they won't, because they're not logical. They don't make sense. Even Republicans are like, no. And then it eventually gets struck down in court and he has to refund the money. So you cause the disruption and then you end up having to give back the money anyway. It's like really, really seems like predictable how poorly this is going to go. But most of right-wing media will just ignore these kinds of stories and just not talk about them. And then, I don't know, some Republican politicians will just defend it all because it's just like, well, I just trust in Trump. And I'm sorry, that's not my approach to public policy, is trust in any individual, especially any erratic individual. It's to actually analyze the policy and the news developments on their own merits. And I'm pretty down on this one. But you guys will have to let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you aren't yet. Hit the like button and do consider becoming a channel member by hitting the join button or clicking the link in the pinned comment to support my independent and nonpartisan commentary. It's not the best business model. If you just push slap to one side, you can make millions of dollars and get millions of subscribers, but I don't do that. So I do need support from viewers like you. Hit that join button or click the link in the description or pinned comment to support me. And with that, guys, we'll be back with more real soon.